The Shuffle Squad is proudly sponsored by Ultimate Guard, PTCGL Store, and Atlas TCG. Check out the description below for discount codes and affiliate links to support the squad. Now it's time for the video. Yo, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to the Yellhorn Pokemon TCG Competitive Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Zach Lesage. I'm here with PJ Witusik, and today we are going to be talking about NAIC. It's coming up. There's still, I think a couple straggling special events going on towards the end of our season. I mean, if you've been following up with competitive Pokemon or not, special events are kind of like a regionals, no cash prizing. I think they've added 5 in the past month, just randomly out of nowhere. But
Crazy.
The big show is NAIC. PJ, are you going to NAIC? Are you playing NAIC? I feel like I'm poking the bear.
yeah. I know. It's one of those bittersweet moments where I am going to NAIC with the team, which is really nice. I get to see everybody's smiling faces there, get to meet up with a lot of friends that you don't see over the course of the year, because it's in internationals. But unfortunately, I'm playing VGC this year instead of TCG, so that's kind of where I'm at. But, if VGC doesn't go well, I'll start playing some side events, just get my chops back up with the TCG and go from there.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fair. No, we honestly, when everyone when Shuffle was all trying to get in, we're all oh, come on, everyone's kind of got to get in. Only the stragglers are not going to get in there. PJ, all 3 waves, getting his heart ripped out. Pokemon's tough sometimes, but I do want to let people know that this season is not a normal season. And you might be like, yo, Zach, we're playing Pokemon, we're doing all this stuff. Towards the early end of the season, the beginning of the season, not the early end, the beginning of the season, we had mask mandates at regionals. COVID was still I don't know where it is nowadays. I think a lot of people are it's kind of like college debt. You sweep it under a rug and hope it doesn't come back to bite you. It's one of those things where we're okay, we hope that it's done. Fingers crossed. I'm pretty sure it's done. Got vaccinated up, and we're playing Pokemon. No more mask mandate, no more COVID vaccine requirements. Events are starting to get bigger. They're lifting those requirements as far as I know. League Cups and League Challenges are back. Pokemon seems like it's back, but I think Worlds and our first event of the 2023 to 2024 season, that's really seems like the kickoff for me for when Pokemon returns to normal.
Exactly, and if we look at some older seasons too, we also have to see the growth of the game. The growth of the game has gone, stonks at this point because we didn't have caps before, but I don't think that we ever really needed caps at these events.
Well, I think we always had caps, but
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I think the caps were undefined, right?
Right. Yeah, there was thousands of players. There's thousands of people going to these regional events. Just to play TCG, not the other events, mind you. But I think that Pokemon knows. They can see the numbers. They can see the attendance, the want for the game. Pokemon had a boom during the COVID era, and now we're seeing it just in real life. So that going into the new season for me as a player and a person who loves the game and has loved the game, that's exciting.
Sure. No, it's definitely exciting. Hopefully Pokemon takes that information and actually does something with it. Because I know that there's a lot of people that wish they could play NAIC, and it's not just they made room for the kids. I know kids that did not get in. And I'm not talking kids, I'm getting 30 now, so I call kids anyone who's 18 and below. You're just kids to me.
Yes.
It's one of those things where I'm just literal juniors division players I know did not get into the event, so that kind of sucks. Hopefully they maybe make a change. I know that there's a few people that are hopeful, at EUIC, I think a couple days before the event, we saw a few players being able to sneak in, but next season's kind of coming up soon. But we're not talking about next season, we're talking about what's going on. So NAIC, we just got Paldea Evolved. We had some late night events this past week. Paldea Evolved is in full-fledged everything at our late nights. And I believe for the June 23rd, 24th weekends, I'm not entirely sure on the dates for the Friday, Saturday. But that's the first weekend that Paldea Evolved is legal in paper copy.
Yes, I know that as of the 23rd, to be exact, that Friday is the date that Paldea Evolved is legal. So if you are playing in any last-minute cups or challenges after the 23rd of June, those cards are legal for standard play. So that means that the first, largely held tournament in North America with these cards legal is going to be NAIC. So the North American International Challenge, held in Columbus, Ohio, will be host to some IRL play with the cards outside of our, late night events online. And late night has been popping off, Zach. I mean, we had over 300 players in both the EU wave and the NA wave.
300 plus players. I think Paldea is an exciting format. Like, the set reasonably, like, I'll kind of give everyone my TLDR. There's cool cards in it like Meowscarada. Those cool cards likely are not good right now, and they might never be good, but at least they look cool enough to kind of disguise the set as really playable. There are a few really cool cards in the set, hence Iono, Luxray, maybe Chen Pao, Baxcalibur, Reversal Energy, sure, Jet Energy. I think we can name off our top 10 cards from the set, and then the rest is like a strict cutoff line. And maybe in that top 10, I'm like, I really like the new Getsis regular holo boss, so my normal bosses have silver borders, but the format's like kind of changed up a lot with those little cards to pre-existing decks. And Iono, like, I think Iono is the best card in the game right now.
Yeah, I mean, going back, I know we've had this conversation before, but if we looked at N in some of the past formats, N was a staple. You needed N in your deck to function. Between N and then Professor Juniper or Sycamore, whatever you had there, that kind of made decks. And then, we transitioned during the Sun and Moon phase to 4 of Cynthia and then 4 of Lily. And now we're kind of going full circle back to where we have the 4 of, discard, draw 7 in research, and then maybe a 4 of Iono. And more that I've seen when I'm looking at these decks in depth, people are leaning towards Iono and kind of cutting the research, which is crazy to me for a card that's been printed in almost every set from Scarlet and Violet, and also the whole block prior.
Yeah, exactly.
Professor's research was
It's been out there for a while.
Yeah. But it's exciting to see a lot of these new card combinations, and even older decks are just getting that boost, maybe from a tier 2 to a tier 1 or below, coming up, because now there's a consistency level to these decks being added on.
Sure. So let's talk about some of the late night stuff that's happened. I mean, even a bit of a precursor to what we had for our late night main events, which I believe was 107 and 108 this week. We did throw on Friday, when the set was first legal on Limitless. We did throw the late night special 3 and late night special 4. I think we beat Limitless slightly to the punch for the late night special 3, and deck lists. Everything wasn't fully uploaded, so we did it without deck lists, so we don't actually have the results of that. People, I mean, they probably didn't change decks in between rounds, but maybe they did. We actually don't know. That being said, Late Night Special 4 did have deck lists. We'll kind of run through the top. So first we had Gardevoir. Second we had Lugia, and the Lugia that we had was colorless Lugia, so a new take on Lugia. Chen Pao, Rapid Strike Urshifu, Inteleon, Chen Pao, Gudra, Single Strike Lugia, and that wraps out our top 8, but like, Chen Pao made a huge splash at this event. I don't know if it's a splash, it's a water type Pokemon. It kind of was, I don't know, it was kind of icy, it slid right in there. Smooth like ice.
But yeah, I mean, if we look at all these decks too, I mean, standing out, people wanted to play Chen Pao. It's a brand new card of the set. It's on, the booster packs. People say play what's on the booster packs.
Is it on the booster packs?
It is. It's on some.
I have not looked at the booster packs. If you ask me, if you held what's it, an electric generator to my head, because we're not going to say the G word.
Right.
Yeah, if you put an electric generator to my head and said, Zach, name the 4 Pokemon that are on the thing, I think it's 4. I'd be getting double lightning energy to the brain right now. There's no way that I would ever guess the 4.
But and actually on Twitter, I know that we had postings from the open deck list, in air quotes here, for the first place and second place. So first place was Single Strike Lugia, a player whose username is Sharny. I know that they've played in quite a few of our late night online series and seen some success. But second place was Baxcalibur. And the Baxcalibur there, I really like that list. I know Alex Szymanski has kind of taken some inspiration on that Baxcalibur list, because this one's playing the Canceling Cologne, and you're playing it with Cross Switchers, Canceling Cologne. You can double Greninja either a Gardevoir deck or a Lost Box deck. All of these things are great to have in the wheelhouse of a water toolbox deck. I know that we've been trying to make Gardevoir with other water attackers happen, all the way from Connecticut regionals on, and here we can see Baxcalibur being one of those big, powerful ending attackers that Zach was talking about in a couple podcasts ago when we were talking about the set, as like the Raichu V-esque card that cleans up at the end. And I really do like a lot of these lists that I'm seeing with the innovation of the new cards. Colorless Lugia, we just put out a video on the YouTube channel with Colorless Lugia, and I think the deck is super powerful. Maybe it's not as good as Single Strike,
but we also don't know. Like, if you ask me right now and be like, I don't know if Single Strike Lugia is better than Colorless Lugia. There's a lot of like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna test out Lost Zone Box, I'm gonna test out Gardevoir. Oh, you want to know what Chen Pao looks like? It's better than what it's doing. Oh, you want to know what Lugia is still up there? Like, there's so many like areas to look. But I think NAIC is going to be a lot more of a difficult event this year when it comes to deck choice.
Absolutely.
The format's probably wide open as well. So I know, even though this is the same format that we're going to be playing Worlds in, and maybe some Quarter Zero Cups, the format might not be as discovered, or there might be some last minute shifts even towards Worlds. So we're kind of in for a doozy until at least Obsidian Flames, and I think we're going to continuously... Pokemon looks like it's going to be a little bit on hard mode. So I'm going to shamelessly plug, if anyone needs any help, get coaching from myself or anyone on the Shuffle Squad. We'll definitely love to kind of give you as best assistance as possible.
Absolutely.
So Chen Pao, should we play Palkia? Should we not play Palkia? I know that Alex Szymanski, I think he made top 16, our very own Alex, at the late night last night, with Arceus V-Star in the deck.
Right.
So it's I don't know what you think. I actually don't even know which one is better. I can't think.
I've seen some Japanese lists that throw the 1/1 arc in there for consistency purposes alone. And I mean, I guess you can Sharon's Carrot, get it off the field. You could do a whole bunch of different things with arc in the deck, but I mean, Irida is just like, it's so good for the deck. Literally getting your Baxcalibur, your Rare Candy, you can start to look into the Cross Switchers aspect. And again, not utilizing your Chen Pao as the main attacker, again, is the theme. Even looking at Late Night 108, I mean, Baxcalibur did really well. Looking at a couple of these online tournaments, Baxcalibur is good. We also have to consider the sources PTCGL. That has been kind of a hurdle that we'd have to overcome. But Baxcalibur, regardless of all the brand new cards that are in there, seems to be doing just fine. And I think that people are trying to get their feet wet playing a deck, no pun intended with a water deck, but get their feet wet playing something like that, and it can hit all of these bigger decks, has answers for some of the single prize decks. It's a well-rounded deck. Is it the most consistent deck? I don't know. But does it have answers for a lot of what we'll see in the meta? Yes, it does.
Sure.
So that being said, looking at just exactly what Zach was talking about here, going into a meta, what we mean, if you don't necessarily understand or haven't played in an internationals, is there's no like 4 defined decks or maybe 4 or 5 defined decks that you're going to see out in the field. So you really have to find what you're most comfortable with, or test out all of these decks and find out, whatever is the most competitive for you and your play style, whatever matches your play style. And that's what you should go in to NAIC with the mindset of is, I like this deck. I know how to play this deck against a lot of other decks, and it's enjoyable for me, because at the end of the day, we all love Pokemon cards, right? And if you're listening to this podcast, you like Pokemon cards for some reason, whether it's just collecting or inevitably becoming a competitive player as well. But that's where my head's at. If I were playing the TCG, I would just go into something I really enjoy playing. One deck I did want to kind of stop on and talk about that I've really enjoyed playing. I don't know if it's competitive. The more and more I look at it and the more and more people play against it, I don't know how competitive it is. But Ting Lu came out of nowhere and just kind of popped off. And obviously, stopping abilities, every content creator, including ourselves here, has that on their channel in some way, shape, or form, because it really just shuts a lot of things down. I think that there is potential to break the deck to make it even more powerful than it is. The downside is acceleration of energy, and I think that there's
I don't even think it's that bad, to be honest.
No, it's not.
I think it's one of those things where if you get off one gutsy pickaxe or one experience share, you probably just win that game. And maybe the deck needs a couple Raihans. When you get knocked out, you could use Raihan or something else like that. I think this deck is... the thing that sucks about it, though, is I think it pretty much loses to Gardevoir. There's lines of play that you could play against Gardevoir, but its ability doesn't work with the EX Pokemon, and I mean... I think even my Gardevoir video the other day I played against Ting Lu, and I was able to overcome whatever steps they had. It gets tough,
right?
But I think as long as you kind of think it out, you can. I think it also loses to Fusion Mew, which we're probably going to see a little bit more of. Because Fusion Mew can attach the Fusion Energy, stop the ability lock, and have access to using ability. So if you know how to play Fusion Mew and you're not just necessarily using it as a Meloetta vessel, realizing that Fusion Energy can do some cool stuff, I think that's cool. Lasso and Box. Lasso and Box was the top 3 decks at last night's late nights.
At 108, yeah, it was crazy, because for me, I was a big hater on Lost Box in this new meta, because I'm like, Iono just shuts that deck off. There's no way that something like, these large hand single prize decks that rely on 2 or 3 cards that you need in hand to win the game or overcome your opponent, that you're just going to get Iono'd. Everything's going to the bottom of your deck now, and you can't come back from that. But I mean, I stand corrected here. There were a lot of great players that played in that tournament, that also topped as well. And the top 3 decks, I mean, even being from Japan, because Japanese players are playing at the international challenge as well. But all Lost Box, different versions of Lost Box. Kyogre's still in there. So I mean, the winning deck of Late Night 108 was a Kyogre Lost Box, and you have to think again, Iono staple card, 4 of in a lot of decks.
Also a really weird take on it, like no Dragonite, no Raikou, no Forest Seal Stones,
just straight into it.
Straight Kyogre
of energy, and just
they did play Snorlax. Maybe Snorlax is cool for Mirror, and I mean, I actually don't even dislike this list. Because a lot of times when I'm playing Kyogre, I don't find that I need the Raikou or the Dragonite. Those can sometimes be liabilities. I also really liked Caleb Rogerson's take on the Turbo list that he played. That does play Dragonite, Raikou. He does play Drape, but the deck is very aggressive. Even on our YouTube today, I posted Lost Zone Sablezard that plays Milotic and Spiritomb. So it could be interesting. Maybe the Spiritomb is Cope, and it's better to play Drapion, but I'm trying the deck out as only single prize cards right now. Spiritomb. PJ has all the like random little cards. You want to know what I have, PJ? I have all my cards sorted alphabetical order. I can almost break my wrist here in my Ultimate Guard archives. So I am going to shamelessly plug Ultimate Guard for, I don't know if you can see, it's all perfect alphabetical order, curated collection. So take your random cards, PJ. You definitely have enough time in your day. Or get your kids to start sorting cards or something. Get the lovely wife to start sorting cards. I actually sort all my own cards. It's something that like I have to do, and like I'll wake up extra early or stay up extra late just grinding it. So not to get sidetracked or anything, but Spiritomb.
Spiritomb. I know. I have all the new staples of Paldea Evolved. The cards are super cheap because of the high printing of the set too, which is nice. going into NAIC. So I think that's where it's nice to see all of these brand new cards come into play. Kind of to backtrack a little bit, we were talking about Lost Box and the text that you can play in there. You did mention Snorlax, and honestly, that's one of the big selling points for me on colorless Lugia is Snorlax. Snorlax just as a single prize
Triple
attacker.
Snorlax is kind of juicy. I like it.
It's almost like how the original Lugia V-Star list was playing, where it's all the single prizers, just one after another, and you have to think that you're competing against these smaller Pokemon. You're competing against Lost Box that can't put damage from Sableye on your Snorlax. Snorlax now in Lugia can play Therapeutic Energy, not put itself to sleep, attack one after another. And I mean, that's the big part for me. I think with Fusion Mew, the transition there is really good, and that's scary.
Sure.
As any V deck, you're scared to play against Fusion Mew. I think the control was nice in the older meta, but now with all of these other decks out there, the aggression, just the shift back to the aggression from Mew VMAX, where it all began, right? Mew VMAX has always been a deck.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always going to be a deck. I just think at the same time, it's like a giant, like it's bold. You're like literally being an edgy teenager for no reason playing Mew VMAX. It's
true.
just like mom and dad, like you go to church on Sundays and you pull up there with like green hair and hoop earrings. And you're like, okay, I'm not worried. I was never worried about Mighty Anna. I'm not worried about Spiritomb. I'm not worried about Path. I'm not worried about Drapion.
Can we say Mew VMAX is the most countered deck I've ever seen in my life? And
there's no way. Literally,
Yes.
I saw so much success with Blacephalon, they had to print Tapu Fini. I swear to God, they're like, we hate this Zach Lesage fella. That was the OG Drape, bro, because that's a single prize card attacker that just like they whip it out. They have the Blick. Like, they pull it sideways and let it rip, bro. Like
you gotta think Spiritomb, Path to the Peak, Drapion V.
Yeah, but that's
Mighty
not the
Anna.
So Mew has answers to those as well, right?
Right.
Mew can play Path. Mew can play Lost Vacuum. Mew can play Fusion Energy. So I think like by default in a format where there's Spiritomb, as long as Spiritomb sees amount of play, and maybe it doesn't, because maybe Spiritomb sucks. Spiritomb might be Copia. We don't know. Yeah. It's still really early to tell. All these lists, I didn't see no Spiritomb up there.
No.
But I believe in it, and I think Spiritomb can definitely throw your opponent, throw it backwards, throw him in a blender, but...
I will say this, though. If we also look at the other competitive realm of Pokemon TCG, this past week, we had the Japanese championship.
I didn't even look at that.
Japanese championship was really, really cool. So basically what this is the world's format for us, but just played in Japan. So all of those cards should be whatever we're able to be, whatever we're playing at the World Championships. Japan did it first, and they got their World Championships out of the way for them. So now that they're prepped and ready to come into Worlds overall as the championship, and the winning deck was Fusion Mew. Another really cool deck that we saw out of there was Arctina with a 1/1 Flying Pikachu VMAX line with Spiritomb in there to shut off the Mews, but still Mew just beat it. It just beat it. There were so many cool decks, but Fusion Mew, there it is, back at the top.
PJ, you're getting my brain pumping. I'm like, so to let everyone know, I have a list on my whiteboard that I have on my wall that is just a bunch of videos that I need to cover. What if we're like the best decks from the Japan Championships?
Yes, exactly.
Best decks from Japan. Best Japanese decks.
Yes. And
then we could cover this, and I think that would be a cool video. I think there's like 9-10 decks that have their lists. But let's that's gonna be the upload, I guess, tomorrow.
Sure.
The Elhorn and the best decks from Japan. I'm gonna get up on it. Hopefully y'all enjoy it. But yeah, no, I think I need to look into the Japan Nats and see exactly what's going on there, because that's definitely gonna affect the Puerto Rico special event North American
Right.
internationals, late night, all play limitless events. There's a lot of shit going on, PJ, in the
Yeah, I
Pokemon
know.
community.
It's crazy, and I love keeping track of the Japanese stuff. One big take from me, it's the hottest take that you can get off this podcast. I look at all of the cards being used before the sets come out, and I look at some of the older cards, and I usually just pick them up for a low cost, and then they jump in price because I already know what's coming out. So that's something you could take away from
So you're
this
saying you could
podcast.
keep it cheap. So like if you're like researching on Hoo News or any of the
Yeah.
other Japanese
Yeah.
Twitter for Pokemon, and
Uh,
you're like, I see Luxray is good, I'm gonna pick that up while it's
Mhm.
like 50 cents in my local bulk bin or whatever, right?
Right, exactly.
And then they're gonna be like, oh, this is actually one of the good cards from this set. We're gonna reprice this quick. So instead of buying it for like, I don't know, it's probably like a $5 card right now.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's $2. I don't know. The set's still really cheap out of everyone.
Mhm.
Like everyone's definition of cheap is different. Pokemon's cheap because if we look back on my Limitless page, there's some decks that I played that were like $400, $500.
Yeah.
Maybe a Pokemon deck was like $300. I'm pretty sure the Mew deck that won the Japanese National Championships is $50. And the most expensive card, beyond Mew VMAX, which is a $4 card now, by the way, is Iono, which is a $5 card. It's not a $5, a $1.50 card. 4 Seal Stones, four Seal Stone is the most expensive card in the deck at $4.
Right.
Like you could build this deck like. Grandpa can give you $50 for your birthday in a card. You can go to like your local shop. Hopefully it's Atlas Collectibles in Waterloo, Ontario. Use
That's
that
right.
code TSS 6 or 12. You could build this deck.
Yeah. It's crazy because Pokemon also was rated amongst other TCGs on a blinged out deck. What is a competitive blinged out deck? How much is the average cost?
Dude, you're making that way tougher now. That might be more. That may be way more expensive.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, even if we looked at all the blinged out decks, Pokemon still was the cheapest out of
There's
any
no way.
TCG.
You're literally PJ.
I'm not.
You
I
are
have a
smoking.
graph.
You are
I have a-
smoking the Tropius, bro. You are smoking the Garganacl, bro. Like I'm telling you right now that there's no way.
I will send you the
You need to pull
chart.
this up.
Yeah.
I swear to fucking God, PJ. There's no way. I am calling you out on your bullshit, dude.
All right,
I'm not trying to
here
turn
we
this
go.
into like a rated R podcast, but there's
that's
no
fine.
fucking chance, bud, at all.
I will
Like
find
you
posts.
completely broke me. And
All right.
is your article better not be like a Bing search that's sponsored post? Like
Bing search. No, it's an Ask Jeeves search.
the Ask
That's what it is.
Jeeves, bro. PJ's like, yeah, I went outside and I found the local guy like in the dumpster, and he just started telling me facts about Pokemon cards, and I sat there for and was basking in his enlightenment.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
no way, dude. I swear to God.
I'm sending you this.
Okay,
This chart.
let's just like take a Gardevoir deck. There's
Okay.
no way that Gardevoir really requiring like $80 for 2 cards. How much is the Gardevoir? Like, can anyone in the comments of this podcast just let us know? Like, how much is like a blinged out list? James Cox rocked a late night, or maybe not a late night. It might have been another tournament. They did pretty good. I think it might have been a late night. I could be wrong. They did well at something, and with Gardevoir, so someone just grab a Gardevoir deck, grab Henry Brand's list for all I care, and then take that and make it the expensive version. Is there a way on Limitless to make it the expensive version?
I don't know if they have that ingrained in the tools.
There's
I know
gotta
that
be.
There's some way where you can get different arts out of it, but yeah, this is and I know
Oh,
that we can
max
always
rarity,
pull
done.
this up.
Literally, a max rarity deck is $1,700, dude. You're telling me that your Yu-Gi-Oh deck max blinged out is $1,700? There's no way. Pokemon is the highest resale market in the game, right? So like,
Yeah,
unless
well,
you're like
that's
playing
true,
like,
too.
unless you're playing like, ooh, check out my like 1980s like Lotus deck from Magic the Gathering. Like, we're not talking about like that, but like, there's no way. I bet Lost Zone Box is also a pretty expensive deck. I didn't know that you could actually do max rarity. Like a Lost Zone Box deck is $1,300.
Well, you got to think all the items can be maxed.
The
out.
energies
Everything.
though.
Energies too, yeah.
I don't know. They don't have like gold lands as far as I'm concerned. I don't.
Well, they do. They for
Okay,
Magic
maybe
the
they have
Gathering,
foil lands or whatever, and
yeah,
like
yeah. They have special Magic is like a whole other ball game.
there's
That we
no way
can.
that Magic though, a competitive standard Magic deck can be max blinged more than a Pokemon deck.
They have decks where there's one of cards, like there's one of this card in the entire world, and that card is like
Okay,
over
like
$1,000.
let's
Like,
admit any one of cards.
yeah,
I'm saying from a
yeah.
regular booster pack. Like I'm
Right,
not
right.
here being like, okay, like fun fact, Worlds 2012.
Yeah.
I think I was like one of the 64 masters or something playing in Worlds that year.
Hmm.
I thought it would be funny to play my brother's Tropical Tidal Wave finalist or champion copy in my deck. I think it was Tropical Tidal Wave or something else like that, whatever it was called back there. I played a world championship winning champion version of a card in my world's list. That card's probably worth an easy 5 to 10k now.
Right.
Does that make me the most expensive world's deck ever played? Probably not. I don't know. I think you got to omit some things somewhere, right? Like if a card spikes too much.
Yeah.
I did not know that escape ropes go for like $90 now.
Yeah. Escape Rope. Out of all of the bling cards, I just don't get why Escape Rope.
I think it's
gold
because it's
version-
old, right? Because you're playing
It must be.
the
Yeah.
only bling copy that we have is from Burning Shadows.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like I'm looking through this list, I'm like $90 card. Oh, 25-cent Hisuian Heavy Ball. But that's what it
It's so
is, right?
funny.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Even in Japan too, like Cramomatics were like insane, and it's just because they didn't print them in a normal set; they were a promo.
Sure. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, there's no way that like Pokemon, like a max rarity Arc Tina deck, pretty basic deck, is
Right.
over $3,000. Like, my guy.
Ow.
Because the two Tina V alt arts are $300 each.
That's
So like
true.
I'm just saying, while Pokemon is the cheapest thing, there's definitely no
Yes.
way it's the cheapest max rarity PJ. I think that might have changed. I think it might
Maybe
have.
it did.
Like, there's no way, dude. I'm telling you, I'm gonna firmly fight on this. It's
Okay,
gotta be
okay.
more expensive than like, I don't know, Digimon.
Well, yeah.
Something.
or, like Flesh and Blood, I didn't even realize that was like a thing that you could purchase for that high of a cost. I thought that was like almost right out of Kickstarter type of game, but that's just me. But I mean, all of these decks, there's been so many people that I've seen at local league or even at regionals that are like, I switched to Pokemon because I kind of like Pokemon and I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player, but it is way too expensive to play Yu-Gi-Oh, so I just play Pokemon instead.
Well, yeah, even with like the League Battle
get that.
decks, like
Yeah.
like if you picked up a build and battle box that had the Chen Pao bundle, you
Right.
could pick up a few promo boxes of Chen Pao. You could pick up a Palkia League Battle deck, and there's your deck. Like,
Right. Yeah.
maybe you want to pick up the new trainer toolkit with Arceus V-Star. I think that also
Yeah.
like I'm saying
That's
right
very
now,
good.
like if you wanted to get someone started on Pokemon, you could be like, go to your local Target, go to your local game store. Here's $200. That's enough to probably build a bunch of decks, have a bunch of cool cards in a binder, like, and you're
Yeah.
ready to go for competitive play. Like you could walk into a local game store, buy the League Battle deck, maybe 2 copies of it to like make it perfect, but
Yeah.
it's got to be good enough.
I will note that we're not sponsored by Target, so sorry for the shameless
Yeah, not
plug to
Target, not
but-
at all.
but
Maybe
please,
in the
please.
future. Hit us up, Target, if you're watching,
Yes.
or Target.
And Target. But yeah, I mean, it's so easy to get into. We're heading into a new format. We'll eventually be heading into CP for the new season. That's something I'm really excited about, especially going to Worlds. And I think that we have a lot of exciting things on the horizon for Pokemon TCG. And that's kind of where I want to round things up, because I know that next week you and I, Zach, are going to get really into the meta. And really dive deep into maybe some championship runs, and then looking with those championship runs at what is going to dominate
Sure.
this new format for NAIC.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, exactly. So we'll dive into the metagame. We'll have a few more late nights under us. We still have a late night special that's probably going to be going up while this podcast is going to be going up. So, I mean,
Yeah.
keep your eyes peeled for that. And one thing that PG and I have told ourselves, as much as we want to try to get our podcast an hour, maybe 45 minutes. We also don't want to sit here and like waste everyone's time and just be like, oh, you want to, just because we want to get to some artificial number, we're going to start talking at our ass or something like that. So just stay tuned for more content. The Shuffle's been doing a lot of content, lots of extra uploads. Our YouTube's popping, our Patreon's popping, our players are popping. So, I mean, check us out. If you ever have any questions, hit us up in the DMs, hit us up in the comments. But yeah, we really hope that you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Anything else you want to kind of round off with, PJ?
No, that's it. Again, check out all of our pros with their Patreon articles in the description below here, or also check out, YouTube if you're listening on any sort of streaming service. But we're going to sign off here from the Yell Horn. This has been a competitive Pokemon TCG podcast with PJ and Zach. We'll catch you here next time on the Yell Horn.
Peace out, everybody. Have a good one. You made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching this entire video from the Shuffle Squad. Honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate each and every person that supports our content, watches what we have going on every single day, every single week, even from time to time, and continuously allows us to have a forum to project our creative content towards the Pokemon TCG community. So if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and even leave a comment to help boost the YouTube algorithm. That being said, we'll catch you with our next video. Thanks again. Take it easy.